Nonsense in here with a product review of the Onnit Steel Mace.
The Onnit Steel Mace is an unconventional training implement based on a tool that ancient warriors, athletes, and badasses used to prepare their minds and bodies for battle in competitive sport. It's hand sculpted from cast iron, finished with a matte powder coat, and comes in sizes ranging from 7 pounds up to 25 pounds.
Onnit claims that the steel mace helps to improve joint stability, particularly the joints of the shoulder. Claims to be one of the most effective ways to train and condition your whole body while mimicking real-world movement. Claims to be one of the most effective ways to build core and rotational strength, and also claims to take fitness back to its primal roots. We can look at those claims further, but first, a few precautions. This tool is not for beginners. Unless you have a solid handle on your body and how to use it, I would say at least 6 months of training with a professional, or even up to a year or more if you're on your own. There's no need for you to fuck around with this thing. Stick to more fundamental movements, build your foundation, and tackle this thing the right way when you're ready for it. The level of presence and focus required to use a tool like this to its full potential is something that will bring you closer to self-mastery, but it's not a magical fix for your broken shoulders. You can't just start doing 360s with a mace and expect it to fix everything, especially if your shoulders are already really fucked up. Actually, if you're in that situation and you don't have somebody experienced to show you how to use it, I wouldn't really bother. The Onnit Steel Mace is probably the most versatile mace on the market, at least as far as I've seen. There are a lot of other maces out there that are pretty much seem to be just good for like 360s and 10 and 2s. You know, those behind the back swinging moves that you see everybody posting videos of themselves doing. It's a durable tool. It can hold up to a lot of the most intense training sessions, like if you have a tire to beat the shit out of. You can also use this thing as a sledgehammer. Pretty sweet, and because the mace has a round head, you can kind of hit it from any angle, and unlike a hammer, if you hit it on the wrong side of the hammer, that thing is just not going to recoil the way it should. Most of the weight is distributed in the head of the mace. The handle is hollow, and in one mace I noticed something like a small stone, something like that, seems to have been like sealed inside the mace, because I can kind of hear it rattling around as I swing it around and do switch squats with it and things like that. I've seen one other comment on the Onnit Steel Mace page say the same thing, but I mean, it's not really a big deal to me. I don't really care, just something I've noticed. Another interesting thing I've noticed is that the knurling between maces doesn't seem to be consistently uniform. So some maces have sharper handles and others are more smooth and slippery. Personally, I love the feel of sharp knurling, so at first I wasn't really too fond of the fact that some of the maces had a really smooth handle. Each mace comes in its own individual box, so I doubt that the knurling on a good portion of them were like just smoothed out by rubbing against each other. Maybe it's just something in manufacturing, or I mean, who really knows? In any case, it doesn't really matter. I've actually kind of come to respect the additional grip challenge that comes along with swinging a smoother handled mace. Okay, so now the really important stuff. Does the mace do what it claims to do? The short answer is yes, if it's used properly. It's really easy to get caught up in all the fancy moves that you can do with the mace, but like with anything else, mastering the basics is what's going to help you the most. So if you're not sure where to start with the mace, the Steel Mace head coach at Onnit has an online mace training series that changes every month. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it's great. Onnit also does a Steel Mace certification for those interested in taking their mace game to the next level. I found that one of the hardest parts is just figuring out which size mace to start with. And since they're all a fixed weight and you've probably never used anything like it before, you'll have no frame of reference for what to expect. Onnit recommends starting with a 10 to 15 pound mace. I started with a 15 pounder and quote unquote got used to it within a few weeks of training, but I'm already pretty strong and have a solid handle on how to use my body. Plus, there's still a ton that I can do with it. I also had the advantage of taking the Onnit Foundations course and having some exposure to the implement beforehand. If you're on the smaller side and you want to use this thing for swinging, a 10 or even a 7 pounder might be your best bet. But in that case, you can also tape a heavy or a lacrosse ball to the end of a PVC pipe and start practicing that way. While each individual mace is much cheaper than any of its competitors, the only way to adjust the difficulty of your movements is by changing your hand position on the mace. That's not a huge deal if you train at a gym that has the smallest maces up to the largest, but if you're flying solo on this fitness journey, it could be a deal breaker. But not really though, because if you know what you're doing, it's fine. You know, being adaptable is something that's pretty sweet. Don't need always a tool to adapt to us, we can adapt as well. So unless you plan on adding multiple maces to your collection and using it for more versatile types of training than swinging around, you might be better off either making your own. Body Tribe Fitness has a great instructional video on how to do that, or you can look into purchasing an adjustable mace like the 8X adjustable mace, or the Shoulder Rock by Chris Duffin, or any of the loadable maces on StrongerGrip.com. So a few complaints that I've seen about the mace, I'm just taking these directly from the Steel Mace webpage on the Onnit site. Only one person said the mace was too short to swing or do 360s and 10 and 2s with. I've seen somebody who's at least 6'5" swing the mace around, so I think it's more likely that this user just doesn't have the prerequisite thoracic and shoulder mobility to handle the mace in a swinging kind of fashion. It's pretty common in trying to introduce that movement or those sorts of movements with general population people. Even though the movement can be really basic, most folks just do not have the required mobility and joints to do it without banging the head of the mace into their ass or something like that, just not getting it. In the IT or customer support world, we call that user error. The only other complaint that I've seen about the mace is that it seems to be frequently running out of stock. Multiple users have posted about this, but that could be a good thing and a bad thing. You know, it means there's a high demand for it, so obviously it's a good tool. But if you want to get a mace and it's out of stock, that's a bummer. As far as competitors go, there is the DIY mace. Again, tutorial by Body Tribe Chip Conrad of Body Tribe Fitness down in the description. There's the 8X adjustable mace, there's the Shoulder Rock by Chris Duffin, there's Stronger Grip maces, and even an Apollo Athletic steel mace on Amazon.com. Looks just like the Onnit mace, but more expensive, so I don't know why anybody would buy that. Prices range from $27.95 for the 7-pound mace up to $92.95 for the 25-pound mace. Not a bad deal for everything you're getting with a tool with this much utility. You can buy an Onnit steel mace at onnit.com, or you can look into the other maces. I'll put a link to all of those in the description below, so you can research yourself, make a nice informed decision, and happy swinging and mace activities to you. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, would you mind giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel for more sweet, awesome fitness tips and product reviews like this one. Thanks. Bye-bye.